Hello guys, this is Claudia from claudiamyenglishteacher.com. In this session I'm going to show you the listening part 2, its strategies, its techniques and how to approach it. Stay with me.
Listening part 2 is a talk by one speaker. The speaker talks quite slowly, but there will not be as many pauses as in part 1. The topic of the speech are varied. So the speaker can talk about a book, a theatre show or a sports match, or it could be a radio interview about, for example, a new hotel resort, or it could be a talk about a car show, or the speaker might talk about a film. There are different types of questions that can come up in the IELTS listening part 2. There could be multiple matching questions, sentence completion questions, notes completion questions, and other types. If you're interested in knowing the different types of questions, please watch my video on the IELTS listening structure that you can find on my website or here on YouTube. I will leave a link in the description. In this case, for example, you can see that from question 11 to 15, you've got a sentence completion type of exercise, where basically you need to fill in the gaps with some words. But from 16 to 18, the exercise changes and it becomes a multiple choice. And the same happens for 19 to 20, which is multiple choice again. The good thing about the IELTS listening part 2 is that the questions will always follow the order of the audio. But there is one thing you really need to be careful of, and that is the amount of words, numbers or letters required by the questions. In this case, for example, from question 11 to 15, which, as we've seen before, it's a sentence completion type of exercise, you can write no more than 2 words and or a number. But from 16 to 18, which is a multiple choice, you have to choose 3 letters from A to G. And from question 19 to 20, which is a multiple choice again, you need to choose 2 letters. So you've got different amounts in the 3 different blocks of questions given. It is very important that during the time you have to go through the questions before the audio plays, that you underline the keywords. Now, in a sentence completion exercise, the keywords are normally words that come before or after the gap. If we look at this example, we can see that question 11 says the museum closes at, then you've got a gap, PM on Mondays. Now, the 2 keywords are the 2 words that come before and after the gap. So in this case, it will be closes at and then PM. Now, in this case, it's quite easy. So you know that if you've got closes at and PM, there's definitely going to be a time there, because obviously a time goes with the preposition at and normally it goes with AM or PM. In question 12, for example, you can see the museum is not open on. Now, on is the preposition that you use with the days of the week. So obviously, you know that that gap is going to be a day of the week. And if you look at question 13, you've got school groups are met by tour guides in the. Now, the word that comes before the gap is the, which in grammar is an article. So you know that gap is going to be filled by a noun. And what kind of noun is it going to be? Well, if they say school groups are met by tour guides in the, so it's going to be a place. Synonyms are also very important in the listening paper. If any of you don't know what synonyms are, they are words that are similar or have a related meaning to another word. So, for example, if I say I'm happy or I'm joyful, they're 2 different words, but they have the same meaning. Now, in the listening, synonyms come up very often in multiple choice questions. Not only, but very often in multiple choice questions. And very briefly, we're going to listen to the recording part that corresponds to questions 16 to 18. But before we do that, let me give you a few tips on how to do this. Now, as you can see here, from question 16 to 18, you've got 7 letters from A to G. And you've got 7 different words. Yes, in this case, it's 7 nouns. Now, in the listening, you might not hear these words. So they might not say food, water, cameras, books, bags, pens, and worksheets, but they'll probably use a synonym. For example, instead of saying people have had some food, they might just say people have had something to eat. Or instead of saying people are allowed to carry cameras, their own cameras in the museum, for example, you might hear people are allowed to take photographs. So as you can see, take a photograph means that you have a camera, so the answer would be cameras. Or having lunch and having some food would be synonyms. So the IELTS listening does this very often. So you really need to be careful. And when you get the time at the beginning of the exercise to circle or underline the keywords, I would quickly go through these 7 nouns just so that you become familiar with them. Now let's play the recording and let's listen to questions 16 to 18.
When the students come into the museum foyer, we ask them to check in their backpacks with their books, lunchboxes, etc. at the cloakroom before they enter the museum proper. I'm afraid in the past we have had a few things gone missing after school visits, so this is a strict rule. Also, some of the exhibits are fragile and we don't want them to be accidentally knocked. But we do provide school students with handouts with questions and quizzes on them. There's so much that students can learn in the museum, and it's fun for them to have something to do. Of course, they'll need to bring something to write with for these. We do allow students to take photographs. For students who are doing projects, it's useful to make some kind of visual record of what they see that they can add to their reports. And finally, they should not bring anything to eat into the museum or drinks of any kind.
Thank you for watching this video. If you want more advice on the other parts of the listening or the other IELTS papers, please watch my other videos, which you can find here in the description or on my website claudiamyenglishteacher.com. If you need help with the IELTS in general, visit my website to see the courses I'm offering at the moment and just drop me an email explaining what you need. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook for mini weekly IELTS lessons. Thank you so much.